What's going on, everybody? KingofDragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today I'll be having a look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends She-Hulk. And so here we have the Marvel Legends She-Hulk pose and out of the packaging. Before we take a look at the figure, let's run through her accessories. She-Hulk does come with two different head sculpts. We do have the calm neutral head, and then we have the angry expressive head. She also comes with two pairs of hands. We get a pair of fists, and then we get a pair of grasping hands. Other than that, She-Hulk here doesn't come with anything else, so with that out of the way, let's have a closer look at She-Hulk. And so here we have a closer look at the Marvel Legends She-Hulk. Now I'm actually coming back to redo this part of the review because when I was going back in editing, I noticed that the colors were very faded, and I don't want to do that and not show this figure to you guys the way it's supposed to be. But we do have a look at She-Hulk here, and I really do like the way this figure came out. I really like this head sculpt. Even though I do feel like this head sculpt is a little bit generic, they could have done a little bit better. If it was a modern day Marvel Legend, the head sculpt would look much better, but this feels very generic when it comes to your standard Marvel Legend female figures. It's still a good head sculpt, don't get me wrong, but it just feels kind of generic even for She-Hulk. I would have liked a little more expression and a little more character behind it. Maybe a smirk or something like this. I think it looks better than this, but yeah. There is that, and on mine it does have a little bit of a paint issue where there is some red in her eye where it does look like she has one bloodshot eye, which is a little bit unfortunate. It's not a big deal because you can only see it when you get really close to the figure, but yeah, when you're up close it's really noticeable. And another thing I'm not a fan of is how they did her hair. They did her hair in green plastic, and then they painted the recesses in black. I think it would have looked a lot better if they had painted the highlights in green and molded it in black plastic. That would look much better, or even dark green plastic and just highlight the high points with a lighter green. It looks okay, but not to the best that they can do. If you can imagine this as black plastic with green highlights, that would look so much better. Moving on to her costume here, there's not much of a costume to speak of because she does have just a torn shirt and torn jeans, which it is a really good sculpt. It's a carryover from the Super Skrull Grey She-Hulk, which I really do like the detailing on it. Now if you want to take off this piece, you can. You're just going to see a bunch of mold lines where the shirt goes over, so do keep that in mind. I do like the tears in the shirt. They look very organic and they look natural, and the fact that this is a separate piece does give it this really nice look where it's actually hanging off of her rather than just moving down the sculpt. So very good job there on Hasbro's part, and even the tears look really nice. I do like the figure overall, and I do feel like this figure is done well. It was good the first time they released it, which unfortunately I didn't pick it up, but this time I did. One thing that I do want to point out is that her abdomen is a completely different shade of green from the rest of her body, being that this is painted green where her entire piece is black. They should have molded this in green and just painted her jeans black. That would have done so much better than just painting this green, because the greens are a little bit off. I do like the jeans sculpt on it. They did a really good job sculpting She-Hulk's jeans. There's a lot of nice texture on it, although some of the rips really don't make sense when you really think about it. If they wanted to do this, it would be torn more to the point where she would have no jeans on. They should have just done like Hulk and have several tears rather than just ripping everything. Don't get me wrong, the jean sculpt is really nice on what you can see, but it's a little bit excessive, especially when you look at her costume that they gave her as a whole, where her shirt just has rips and you can see some tears in it. This is just completely shredded, like she went through a cheese grater and just got her entire jeans shredded. And then this is what I'm also talking about with the difference in greens. Her shin right here is molded in green, which is the way it's supposed to be, seeing as how there's very little black. But then you have the black knee, which has the green paint, and then the green paint here, where you can see an obvious color difference right here between the knee and her shin, which that's a little bit unfortunate, and there's really no way they could have done this because the majority of this isn't black, and painting it green would have been easier, where the knee would be black in the back. So yeah, that would also have to be the way it is. So overall, the design of She-Hulk works for what it is. I'm just not a fan of the torn jeans. I would have much preferred her jumpsuit or the swimsuit that she wears. And then we have her bare feet because she is not wearing any shoes because her shoes tore off because she was basically wearing civilian clothes. Overall, I do like the way She-Hulk came out. I just feel like they could have done better on her face and better overall in terms of her costume selection. So, with that out of the way, guys, let's actually have a comparison between She-Hulk and other figures you may have in your collection. Here we have She-Hulk posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have She-Hulk posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. Here we have She-Hulk posed next to a Lightning Collection White Range and a Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. Here we have the Marvel Legends She-Hulk posed next to the Marvel Legends Hulk. And for one final comparison, here we have the Marvel Legends She-Hulk posed next to the Diamond Select Immortal Hulk. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's have a look at She-Hulk's articulation. Now, she does have your standard ball and hinge here at the head, so her head is on a ball joint, which doesn't really give you too much up and down movement. But as far as that hinge goes, it is a very stiff hinge, which does let her look down quite a bit. And unfortunately, because of her hair, you really don't get an upwards mobility with that. That's about as best you're going to get with this head. With the other head, because the hair is off to the side, you get a little more range. She can turn left and right, no problem. Her arms do go all the way around. Then she does have outward movement going to about that far, very much past the horizontal, so I do like that. We do have bicep swivel. Then we have a single bend here at the elbow, really stiff on mine, but like I said, it does go past 90 degrees, and it does swivel as well. Then she does have a swivel and a hinge at the wrist. We do have a ball joint which leans back about that far. Doesn't lean forward as much as you would like, but it does lean to the side. To the other side, it does rotate. Then her legs do kick forward to about right there. They kick back out to the side to about right there, which is acceptable for She-Hulk. She does have a thigh swivel up high. Then we have a double bend here at the knee. No swivel at her calf, thankfully, but we do have a hinge which goes back and it goes forward, and then forward facing pin for rocker ankle. So overall, She-Hulk here has some pretty good articulation and it does work. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get She-Hulk posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have the Marvel Legends She-Hulk pose for my final thoughts, and overall, this is a really nice figure. Despite the flaws that it has and despite my little nitpicks that I have with this figure, it's still done very exceptionally well. And despite the fact it is basically a reissue from the gray She-Hulk that we got with the Super Skrull wave, I think this is a much needed improvement on that figure. I know a lot of people are a fan of the gray Hulk. I know people are a fan of the green Hulk. I prefer my Hulks being green because that's what I basically grew up watching and reading. She-Hulk here is done very well, and I do like the way she came out. I do feel like her generic head is just that. It's generic. There's really no character to it. I much prefer the expressive head. It has a little more depth and character to it. Not saying it's a bad sculpt, it just feels very generic and bland. Overall, I do think this is a must-have figure for anybody who's a fan of She-Hulk or needs a She-Hulk in your collection. This figure will hold you off until Hasbro inevitably releases one in her jumpsuit, which I know everybody is looking forward to, which I am too. I really want to see that She-Hulk as well. If you are looking for this She-Hulk, unfortunately, she is sold out everywhere that I've checked. I checked GameStop, Walmart, Target, Best Buy, everywhere that you look, she is sold out. I did get mine off Big Bad Toy Store for about $22, and how did I get her that cheap? I got her substandard, and it was actually really odd because I was just looking up She-Hulk listings on every website that I could trying to find this figure, and it just popped up on Big Bad Toy Store with them having like 29 substandard figures, and I picked one up. So thankfully I was able to pick her up, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do this review, and I really am happy I do have her in my collection. With that being said, guys, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and check out all my other action figure reviews as well as all my other Marvel Legend videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it fits in my collection, I'll gladly have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and as always, ring that bell to be notified anytime I upload a video. Until next time guys, I'll see you later. Take care everyone.